The next marketing instrument we are going to look at is price. Price is defined as the value, both monetary, that is the financial outlay, and non-monetary, which refers to the effort and time invested, information provided, etc., paid or carried out in the case of non-economic effort for a good or service. Thus, this concept is directly related to value and, in short, refers to the counterpart given in exchange for the utility we receive. That is, what we pay in monetary and non-monetary terms to enjoy what a product or service provides us. Price is therefore a multidimensional concept that is determined by the concept of perceived value. This perceived value is an overall assessment that subjectively the public makes of a product or service. This assessment is determined by two factors. First, what people expect to receive, and on the other hand, what they sacrifice to receive it. These sacrifices are both economic and related to time, effort, information, etc. Thus, before setting our price, it is important to understand these two dimensions and answer some questions. What benefits does my product or service offer? What need does my product satisfy? What efforts does the public have to make in order to acquire my product? And after this, we must think and reflect on whether the answers to these questions are in line with the public's perceptions. That is, are the benefits and efforts I consider actually perceived that way by the public? This is important because if the public's expectations are higher than what they actually receive, it will lead to dissatisfaction. It is crucial when setting the price to be clear about the value we provide to the public. When setting the price, we must take into account certain factors that will influence this decision. Some of these factors are internal, coming from within the organization itself, while others are external, coming from the environment. Regarding internal factors, first of all, strategic and marketing objectives should guide the determination of price thresholds. Here, we need to reflect on all the aspects discussed previously. What does our product offer? Who is the target audience, considering all their characteristics and their attitude toward the product? It is also important to be clear about the positioning we have or want to achieve. Likewise, the price must be aligned with the other variables of the marketing mix. If we set a high price, it should be because our product has high quality or innovative features that make it unique. Similarly, I must be consistent with my distribution and promotion policies, which we will discuss next. Finally, we need to analyze our cost structure. So if we have high fixed costs, we will be more dependent on sales volume, which we will need to increase. On the other hand, if we have higher variable costs, the selling price will be more important to compensate for those costs. In the same way, as the level of activity and experience increases, I will be able to reduce the unit cost of the product and thus increase my margin. Regarding internal factors, demand and its sensitivity to price are crucial. Price sensitivity refers to how demand changes in response to market fluctuations. Thus, greater sensitivity implies sharper variations and less sensitivity means the opposite. We must analyze in our sector and for our specific case what that sensitivity is like. For example, to reduce price sensitivity, it is appropriate to work on differentiating ourselves, providing extra value, innovation, and so on. It is also important to consider the intensity of competition in the sector, how many competitors there are, and how these and other players will react to price changes. Likewise, as we have seen previously, the stage of the product life cycle our product is in will be decisive when setting the price. And finally, we must consult the legislation to find out if there is any regulation that restricts or regulates prices in the sector we are in. In summary, price setting is a systematic and complex decision-making process that involves previously channeling a multitude of closely related variables. Thus, choosing a pricing method means coordinating, first, the competitive structure of the market, second, the behavior of the public, and finally, the internal constraints imposed by costs and profitability objectives.